Imagine where you do not have to invest your own money, but you can literally borrow the money from a community and earn from it and simply pay a small fee for the transaction and begin to benefit from the transactions on the blockchain and receive your own accounting and back office financial reports of your own based upon what you stake. So I can share with you that when someone puts in, let's say, as little as $100, they are able to receive $30,240 under a term contract that creates what we call the DeFi hybrid contract. Then you will get to sit back and let the account do the work for you. There is no risk, there is no hassle, and it is worry-free. It has been, when you go back, and I go back 17 months back, and I look at that, there was a lot of validation, a lot of verification, and proof had to be done in order for me to be a participant, to even have a discussion like this with anybody. But what was really interesting is I was able to verify and validate on the blockchain, because the blockchain is like a transparency or a ledger that shows every transaction. And so I was able to validate and verify some of those transactions, and I was able to monitor them for many months. And it was impressive to see the amount of success that was taking place with members or community members that bought their contracts, went ahead and took the risk, if you will, even though it may be less risk, but it's still risk. And with that, they would be able to take $100, borrow up to $32,000. And what's unique is they have an insurance policy that backs up the loan that's borrowed. So what happens is each day that you earn, the interest that is owed on the loan is deducted from the profits of the account on an annual basis. So they'll never ask you for money or anything external. It'll only be deducted from the account itself, from profits purely. And so it allows that account to micro compound, which is incredible. But what's also unique is that it's insured. And that insurance premium, we do pay for it. But it, again, only comes from the profits that are generated from the borrowed account. And so the amazing thing about that is that you spent $100, you borrowed $30,240, it self-serviced itself, and in 3 years, it pays out $35,094. Of course, there's going to be a blockchain fee, approximately maybe 4%. So you're going to probably close out close to, between $30,000 and $32,000 for that $100 stake, that $100 fee based on the funds that you were able to stake. So why would the equity firm, you probably ask, Kevin, why would the equity firm give you that money? Mm-hmm. It's a win-win.
Yeah, why would they? Mm-hmm.
Okay. First of all, if people knew the truth about how banking works, did you realize that most banks are not even supposed to lend money, but yet they do it every day? And most banks don't lend any money. They only lend other people's money. Think about that for a minute. Where do the deposits come from? They come from you, and then they lend that money out to someone else. But in between, we won't get into the woods here, but they get a high leverage factor working with the Federal Reserve System, do they not? If people do their studies, they'll find out. But in this situation, if you went to your local bank and asked for a loan, would they be able to give it to you without you being an applicant? You would have to become an applicant. And so here you become an applicant, and it becomes a win-win for the community here, because in the blockchain and in the industry of digital currency, you create communities. And the community here works with the equity firm bank, if you will, a private one at that. And based upon you having a registration, triggers the ability that if you pay the fee, it releases those accounts to be deposited, those funds to be deposited into your account. They know for a fact that you cannot withdraw it because it's getting staked on the blockchain, which means it's locked in there. and it goes to the benefit of you and the community. And the bank wins because they are guaranteed their interest automatically deducted from the account of profits, not from you. They never have to rely on you paying the bill. Most banks today, if you imagine if a bank loaned even a million people $30,000, how many of them do you think would go in default? A lot,
A
correct?
lot.
But in this
Yep.
case, in this case, Cryptex and their equity partners have a zero default rate. Zero. Because the blockchain smart contract handles everything. This is the future of business. And so these folks seen this vision 9 years ago, and it has worked flawlessly. Now from here, what also happens is because the equity bank knows that it's staked and you can't withdraw it to jeopardize or risk the capital, it's staked on the blockchain. So they're willing to do that because they're guaranteed or assured their interest payments, plus at the end of the term, all their capital is returned. So it's a great interest rate for them, which is secured on the blockchain. And then there's a backup on the capital in case something catastrophic would happen. And that's the insurance. So you and I are liable for the insurance. So the equity firm knows that the insurance is required. So if they know the insurance is required, they know the blockchain secures it. What's the equity firm's bank's risk? Nothing. Zero. So you can see it's an equitable partnership. They get the interest. Their money goes to work. They get insurance to cover it. You and I have to pay the insurance. And guess where that payment comes from? Right from your profits. So it's a win-win. So it's a great organized synergy between all parties. And it requires the insurance. It requires the equity firm. It requires you and the blockchain, in essence, also with Cryptex. Those four components create this financial windfall for you. And you can have up to 80 contracts. And what's also beneficial is that you have contracts that can be either 3-year term or 5-year term or 7-year term. And a 5-year term has a yield out after 5 years of $471,000 because of the micro compounding. We're typically earning about 2.5% a month that's micro compounded, which is reasonable and doable. And on top of that, you have a 7-year contract, which can yield you out $1.5 million. And there's no task for you to do. There's no loops or hoops for you to do. No clicking, none of those things like that. We've actually have people that we've witnessed being paid out on these contracts. And matter of fact, I have created a video for those that decide to, maybe in your community, Kevin, that decide to come on board with you. There's a website that you'll be able to provide them that shows them a real live video of someone being paid. We monitored and tracked people being paid on these contracts. And there's also a presentation that we'll be able to show folks the blockchain